Hello, my name is Jörg Rau and I run the What's New in Business Central 2025 Wave 2 session today. We just wait a couple of seconds for everyone to admit into the meeting. Shouldn't take that long. Hopefully that works quite quickly. So, all right. Okay, yeah, so welcome to the session, Business Central 25 Wave 2 or version 27. If you're a regular guest, then you are welcome back to my webinar, and you know the format. For all new guests, here's some kind of house rules. We record this session. That means I go really quickly through some demos, and therefore the webinar as a recorded session later will be quite handy for yourself to maybe see again what I demoed and what I said. Plus, you can also pass it on to your colleagues as well. So if you do have questions during this webinar, then please put them in the Q&A chat. I think Amy is trying to put the post in, so they should see it and can try it out. I will not look at the Q&A chat until the end. Hopefully we get about 15 minutes where I can answer all those questions you have. So just shoot them in there and I will have a look at them later. So we do have 1.5 hours time, and I do really my best to stick to that. It will be a challenge though, but therefore let's go straight into it. So the first thing I always do is looking at the release planner. So if you're not aware of the release planner, that's the first place to go to see what is part of the release and what is also part in future release and ideas. We see we have 102 features this time in this wave, but there's quite a lot of features which are still to come. So remember, wave means we do have a major release in October, but then we get more features delivered during that wave until we get to April. So the next place where you can actually look up about new functionality of that wave is in a YouTube channel from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central team. This time we have 48 videos about what has been released to date. Of course, I watch them for you so that you don't have to do that all, and make the summary and pick the ones I think you should know about. So before we go always to the next version, I always have a look in the feature management of the current version 26, Wave 1. And I'm interested to see when I filter on what is actually gets enabled automatically when we upgrade to version 27. So, and then we will always see that some of those features will not be automatically updated and will be pushed out. So those are the ones here which will be enabled automatically, which is the multiple users to post warehouse entries. The service certificate is required when we go out and ask other systems with a request. Enable use of package tracking, physical inventory orders, add field from related tables in analysis mode, which I do show you today further. Advanced navigation, search capabilities by utilizing semantic similarity search and optimized screen estate using on the web. Those will be definitely switched on. The others you see will not be switched on. So if you go in version 27 now and look at the feature management, then we do see those specific ones are highlighted, are pushed out to the most in 28 version. That means that is next year in April. And there's one, the auto surface every field change has been further pushed along to 29. So you can imagine when a field change happens and you go and fill out a card and you go to 10 fields, then the record gets saved 10 times. So therefore that has also some performance implication. Hence I can see why this is probably not as good for the system. Obviously good for a user because you know it's saved immediately. And but there's also ISV solutions which might have issues with that. Right, so that's what we get for the feature management, and some of the features here we talk about needs to be enabled in order to make them work soon you go on version 27. So I go through in the chunks, in the areas of the modules, basically how Microsoft is grouping that per the release planner. The first, no surprise, is Copilot. So, and on the changes we have, so let's have a look first on the Copilot Agents capability page, which you hopefully all know. A lot of things which I refer to today has been presented in my last webinar of version 1. So there's always a way that you can go back in our channel and look at this and look at the things I demonstrated there. So the list actually of capabilities hasn't changed. We still see the chat, the summarize, the order fill. So those things have been have been improved now. We're going through the improvements. But what is new is that enable Bing search. So before, in version 26 now, so far, you could, when you use the chat on the side and use Copilot capabilities, it's actually limited to the data in your tenant. Therefore, it couldn't get out to the web and find more information. So now that has changed. So as soon as you enable the Bing search, you can utilize that. And that it makes sense when we look at the autofill, for example. So talking about it, that's our first demo where I want to show you how we can do or see the improvements of the autofill fields. So if I go in Business Central and want to create a new vendor, and this time I create a new vendor for theater. So let's type in theater systems on LTD, and then I can use this little sparkling icon here on the side to activate the autofill capability. And it goes out and checks the name. See, searching the web, you saw it for a short moment, it found Theater Systems Limited on it. So I can now press the button and tick it, or on the top right corner, I can see all the fields it has changed. I keep it. Obviously, I want the address as well, so I click just directly on the sparkle icon and let it search for it. So now important is that when it goes to the web, it does send information out it has already. You see, that is not the theater I'm after. It's right in Flinders Street. So why? Because we saw the country region code is still there. So see, this is all somewhere in Australia. So I discard that, change the country code to NZ, and then let it change and search again. So now you see the Bing search becomes quite handy now, because it does find us on the web and fills up the information to it, hopefully. So here we go. Beresford Square, that's it. So in Auckland, email is right, homepage is right. Here all the fields we have. Now I can then select the ones I want, here in this case all, and accept them all. It does tell me that the postcode is not in BC. Remember, this is a demo customer client I have here, so it means NZ. So the postcode was not there. So that means in this case the validation failed and I couldn't validate it. So I have to do this manually now. But of course, if you have all the postcodes in there, it will just work. Right, so that is already the first demo about how autofill together with the Bing search, as soon as you activate that in that page I showed you, works. So we also see improvements in the Copilot summary. A summary is something you see on as a fact box on the top right corner of every card. You might see them even on cards which are custom to you, have been built for you, because it's something you don't have to opt in. You actually have to opt out of it. And if you do not want that Copilot summary in the fact box on the top right, then we need to write some code to basically set that flag with a page extension to not show it. So because it will take up real estate. So if it's of course useful to you, then it's great. And I will work with custom pages. So let's have a look when we go to a customer page, a customer card. Again, it's demo data, School of Fine Art. So, and I start the summarizing area. Then I get a summary of this record, and I get hyperlinks as well. And that is quite useful for new users. So now, for example, there is a balance. You click on it and it highlights the field where it finds it. I go to the lifetime sales report and opens the statistics page and shows you a field there, which I might have not known before. And if I do want to see more, let's say sales orders, then it goes to the sales orders as well. So basically, it gives me a summary of this customer. The show more, activate the pen on the right, the Copilot pen, and it goes out and finds more information around the customer. I give it a tick. So remember, my limited demo data is maybe not much to show, but then I get find information about 18 days with late payment made, when is the last payment then recorded, and I can click on that as well, and it shows me where I find it information. So that means me as a new user, I just find also information like this one here. Last sale extends to 246 days. I didn't even know that field existed. So therefore, I learned something new with the summary as well. So, okay, so Microsoft commits that the summary gets more and more improved over time to give you more meaningful information. So the advanced tell me is also where AI helps us to find menus and actions we have. So every one of you know the little magnifier glass on the top right, which is called tell me, and hopefully all of you use the Alt Q key combination to activate it. So now if I click on this, you can search for example, if I search for products, which I mean items, but I would not find items because there is no menu that's called items. But if I activate the advanced search, then it knows now what I mean with that because it uses AI to search and then finds items suddenly now as well. So that's the advanced find functionality there. Now we move over to the enhanced analysis mode. The analysis mode is there for a couple of releases now, and we get some more love there, specifically for data which you couldn't see before. We can now make this visible. So best shown in the demo. So I go on alternate entries, and maybe I want to see based on my sell data, or what are the customers. I see cost amounts, sales amount, I see all of that, but I can't see who the customers we sold it to. Of course, if you're an advanced user, you try to do the personalization, you activate the field, you search for it, and if you know your data well, you know it's actually the source number, which is the customer number, but that doesn't give you still no customer name yet. So now let's try when we do the analysis mode if Copilot can help us. So where I want to actually see more, I want to also see the user who driven it. So that means add the full username. Then I want to have it grouped by year, months, and then customer name. So I generate it, and let's see what it does for me. So now I got my years, I got my months. Okay, I got my customer name suddenly. Right, and then I don't get my username, and that is because my demo data doesn't have the username there, but I did post 2 records with it, so I'll show you a little bit later. The username comes into place. Well, let's get some field in that you can see those are the records, like maybe activate the item number and drag it in here. So that means, okay, how did the system do that now that I get suddenly a customer name? So because this is the limited fields I have on the right. So now, if I just go and make a new mode, so let's say go on the plus button, say a new analysis page, then I can right click on it and see add columns from the table item at NDMN. I see there's more tables and more fields in there, which I could use and add to my list. Again, the source number itself wouldn't just help me a lot. Or I can do, again, right click, add columns from, and see extra tables like other sources. And now I see all the related tables, like the customer table, which is linked through by the source number. And then you see important is I see the fields based on what I can see as a user from a page point of view. So I can see the customer card, so I can see the name. So it's not what I see on the table, it's what I see from the pages. So let's move that new column to the left. And of course, if you paid attention now, that works when it is sale, but it doesn't work for purchase. You see, if I have a custom number, which exists as vendor number, in my example I do, so let's create the vendor as well, then of course I have an issue in this particular way. So, but just wanted to show you that it's just actually links it via one field only and not 2 fields as it should do. But I think it's a great start. So now I've got my vendor number here, and you see if I put this over, it just coincidentally, I have a vendor 10,000 and a customer 10,000. They have different names. But I can do filters like my sale entry type, and I filter that now. So and then my report is fine again. I just choose the cell type. There we go. So, okay, now I still want to add more fields to it, so I'm keen to get my my username in. So activate all so they can tell you the user because of the 2 brackets I have. So let's add columns, and then you see when I scroll down on the list, it's quite more tables. So which I can bring data from, and you see I use user from the modified, and then I want to add the full name. And now when I go to the right, I have to sort the column, and here we go. I've got Megan here because I'm logged in as Megan in this demo. So yeah, so this is how I can bring in more fields to my own reporting. And then of course I can use the slicing, dicing, and pivot table and all of that kind of thing to do it. And I can also share that with my colleagues, this report. So very nice. So another thing which I discovered while looking into the fine print of the release notes is something you probably would have missed. So let's see, if I go maybe back on the homepage and open up the general ledger entries and go into the analyze mode as well, it might be quite useful for you. Let's see. So you might have a lot of fields and you don't find the right field, so you can search for it and like amount. And then if you right click on it, it's a new function is called scroll amount into view, and then it scrolls right away that I can see this field. I think that's a neat tool which I wanted to share with you as well. So now time to talk about agents, right? So, well, I showed in the last webinar how the sales agent works and how we can activate it and do it and what it does and all of that. So this time, because I need the time for something else, I want to show you something also very exciting. I thought maybe I just talk about the improvements we have on this agent. So if you do interested in how the sales agent gets set up, then you could go in the last webinar to check that. So what has changed? The sales agent came out of preview. It's now general available. That means it's good to use in production environments. The sales agent did always start with a sales quote, which I really personally didn't like. So if you get an email in and makes a quote first, now we can start directly with a sales order. It can handle any kind of attachments. When I say any, it is images and PDFs, which it can go through. It does find it the relevant PDF as well. So if you have an order, but your customer sends you also another PDF with your terms and conditions, then it understands automatically what the order is and what is an irrelevant attachment. It would use it. It can also identify multiple ship to addresses and select them. If there are items you do not have on stock, it is then running the capable to promise functionality in Business Central to use that information back in the response email to say, well, we don't have that on stock, but we will have on that date. And then you can also activate the sales agent once you're happy with this completely as an autonomous agent. So that means it works completely behind the scenes automatically. So, and you do have a choice now to say, well, if as a registered customer, so an existing customer orders, then I want to have it automatically dealing with the email processing. And if it's not a registered customer, I don't. So, and there's even a sub function you could use if the registered customer orders the very first time through the agent, then you do want to look at this. And then the second time it will do it automatically. So it's actually quite good that you have that control about if you want to have it fully automated or not. If there was something wrong in the past, you could not just give more hints to it. Now you have an input field where you can actually tell the agent about more information, what it should do in this case, so that it can learn better. And that happens also on the payables agent. So all emails you send out can now be defined with a unique email signature, so that there might be many users actually monitoring the sales mailbox. But then when the emails get sent, you can set one defined email signature about what you want to have done. And because it's a usage-based charging for the sales agent based on the steps, etc. I explained all of that, how the costing works in the last webinar. You can then set daily limits to limit the number of emails. So therefore, if you think it just might go too excessive, then you can control it with that as well. So the payable agents is still stuck in preview. What is the payable agents doing? It finds also the files in the emails and can create then invoices mostly for something like an overhead expense. So it sounds pretty much the same as what we do with Continue and say, yeah, but the payable agents is quite rudimentary still in the functionality and cannot compete with the process we already have in place with continued document capture, where we already get an email automatically comes and attachments get scanned and used and line recognition's done and all that kind of thing. The payable agents can't do that, at least yet. So therefore, I'd highly recommend to continue with the Continue document capture process to do. Also for the e-documents, which I do not include in my webinar either, the functionality from Business Central, because you do need an accredited access point provider. Continue is one in New Zealand and Australia, and therefore, if you use already document capture for your PDFs, you can already use e-documents. It's just a different a switch for your document sending profiles you have, and you need to be registered in the NZBN register, so which we can help you with to do. And actually, Continue does it for you as soon as you give them grant permission to do that. So those are the existing agents we have. So the sales agent is definitely something to look into and can be used because it's GA. The payables agent still in preview, pretty rudimentary. I would just stick to Continue. Now we're going to a different area of user experiences, which are usually smaller changes in the UI, which helps user to make more use of it, real estate, etc. So the first thing is the adjust width. We can do now, I just quickly demo that because it's got quick. So everywhere where you see a fact box pen, you can now move that left and right. You can have your Copilot pen, you can move that left and right. And when you also do the page scripting, then you can also then move that left and right. If you go back to the line and double click it, it brings it back to the default size. Double click here and back to that. So this is what helps you to make best use of your real estate on the screen. Talking about page scripting, which is still in preview and did get some more enhancements. It's still in preview, but Microsoft also says that we should start using it in production, in real life, which some of our customers already do, and also consultants make use of it. So let's remember what the page scripting is. So I want, in order when I do my testing, in user acceptance testing, I want to record the test I'm doing so that I can save this. That means every step I do, open a card, fill in information, press this button, press that button, and then I want to save it. So if I get a change to it or something else I want to test, I can rerun my script and see if my script runs successfully or if it breaks somewhere. And if it breaks somewhere, I can look at it and say, okay. So that means the recording time I take by activating the recording pays off because I'm so much faster in retesting. However, the first version we got 2 versions before had some issues of what happens if you made a recording and you made a mistake. So how could I just change this existing script? And the only way was really to record it again. So and that is of course painful. Now we get a lot of enhancements to the page scripting where we can now say, look, if I just want to continue something, I missed something, I can insert a point in my lines and say, look, record from there. I can rearrange the steps by drag and drop them up and down. I can delete steps I don't want anymore. And we're looking how I can parameterize the scripting and also passing the script from the parameter from one script to another, which we then can organize in a suite. A suite means then I can combine all these tests together into maybe one or a set of tests, which runs them all together, or can reuse the same script in different places again. So it's quite neat. Right. So I want to record now a test. I activate my page scripting, activate my recording. I want to create a customer. So go customers, a new, choose my template, and give it a name. And just close it, and I'm done. So now I stop the recording and say, okay, here's my script. But I just created a new customer only with a name, so it would be good to test the address. So what I do is I open up the card again and activate my recording, and then say, in this moment here, after the customer name, I want to record from here. So now I keep on going with my address. I say new street. So, and close the page and stop the recording and look at my script. I see my address field has been added now nicely, but I did make a mistake, right? Because I closed the page again. So now I have 2 times closing a page, which is wrong. So now let me fix that by starting the recording again, and now delete steps, which I don't want anymore. So now I might be, so this is how you can now fix your scripts. Save it, and now we want to just give it a go. So I'll bring that back all to the beginning. Roll center, start, and now it does tell me that I'm in a production environment. Be careful because it does write the right data directly into the system. So, and now I can see my new customer has been created. My script was running without errors. Great. So now I might not want 10 customers with the name new customer. So I want to give it some parameters so that I can actually influence what gets created. So that means very helpful for me. Maybe I want to create a test 1 and test 2 and whatever, so that I can identify all the transactions with those users, for example. So therefore, let's have a look on how parameters work. So in order to go on activate parameters, I just go on this assist button here, properties. Then I see parameters. Can add a parameter, can give it a name. So in my case, name. I say it's required, what data type it is, and what default value I want to set. Add another one called street. It's required. And now I go and want to replace basically the value here and take this hard-coded out and use PowerFX function parameters. And you see now it's the parameters I have defined. Go to the next one, properties, replace that with parameters street. Right, save this and bring it back to start and run. And now it asks me first, what is the name I want to use? Peter Pan, street, I want main street, and say run. And now it runs the script for me. And now I've got a new customer created based on my parameters. So now I did record a previous recording where I want to also create a ship to address for a customer. I saved this in a different file, and I think this rather handy now to use it in this process. So if I create a customer, I want also the system to make use of that extra file to create a ship to address. So therefore, I want to now make use of the suite functionality we have. So I go to my script and start my recording, which basically enable my changes. And at this time after the address, I want to add a step from another script. So the script has to be in the same folder structure, so it's all relative from that, from the root. But you see, I think that's a bug that it pushes us to the top, but I can show you now how to move things to the right place. So, and this will now execute my shipped address. Save this. So, and now, of course, I want to try. So let's run the script. Ask me again for names, show block and yellow crescent. and run it. Now I'll run through my script again. See a ship to address flicking up, and here we go. My new customer has been created. The script run without any errors. I see Joe block. Let's check the ship to address. I got a ship to address. I see, yeah, address different street. So it created it for me, and still got the parameter down with yellow crescent. All right, so that was the suite functionality. So let's move on to financial management and the new functionality we have there. So I want to demo the create multiple fixed assets card functionality. So what is the situation? If you had to buy 10 tablets, then and they're expensive enough to make them all a fixed asset and assign them to people, then you had to create 10 fixed assets card first, and then you go on a purchase document like a purchase invoice, and then you add 10 lines for this fixed assets and buy them to post your acquisition costs. So now that has changed, and we can do this with one fixed asset first as a template. And yes, you could always copy that one before, so there was a function for that, but now it does it automatically from the purchase document. So you basically make only a one-liner, and you say you want to buy 10, and it creates 10 fixed assets for you and post acquisition card. So that actually is a functionality was in the Italian country version for a long time. So that before has been used by the Italians for forever. So Microsoft picked that up and made it available for all country versions now. So first we have to create a fixed asset quickly. And there's nothing special to that. So, but I do want to do this quickly so that for users who haven't seen it, so I want to have an Android tablet. And fill out some tangible would be good. And a subclass equipment. Then set up a starting date. For 3 years. That's it. So that is enough, and it tells me you are ready to acquire the fixed asset now. Okay, let's go to a purchase invoice. Create a new invoice. Oh, Fabricam. Now choose the type fixed asset. Choose the fixed asset we just created. And chuck in the quantity 10. $250. But now careful, that's not it yet. So you do need to activate and enable another field. So you go to personalization mode and add another field to the lines. So look for fixed assets, and then you get the number of fixed asset cards fields which you want to bring in. Let's put it next to the quantity. And here you have to say, okay, how many fixed asset cards you should create. And you say, oh, I just want to have 10 in total. So, and then we are ready to post. All right, before we post, we have to create an invoice number, and now we post. All right, so if you look at the entries, you can see right away there's a 10 fixed asset ledger entries, and you see the numbers have been auto-generated, and it created the tablets for us. And if we go to the fixed asset list, we will see that as well. And you see our 10 tablets, and now we can go and put in the serial number and assign it to the responsible employee who's got the tablet and all that kind of thing. can be done now. All right. Okay, so that is quite a time saver in creating fixed assets. The next demo is about alternative posting groups for employees. I'm not sure how many people actually do use making journals with the type of employee, but if you do, the scenario might be you want to post an expense for an employee to claim back, or you want to maybe post wages or salary to it, and therefore you want different posting groups. So in order to make that activate, you need to go to the human resource setup and allow multiple posting groups. It is actually hidden under the show more, so you need to activate the show more first to see it. And then we can go straight into general journal. And make a line, let's say like payments, November 25, then the account type employee, and then the account number, let's say take Esther, but let's go on Esther because you do need to activate it on the resource as well. It's further down. If you go under payments, you got allow multiple posting groups. That needs to be activated, otherwise it doesn't work. And I created already an alternative posting group. So you see salary, but if I go to the first one and go to related, this is where you set up the alternative groups, which can be used for that other posting group. So that means you can change it now from the default to another one, type in the amount and post and so forth. So, right, reporting and analytics, big area. So we see changes in different areas on that. The first one I want to go through is the updated Word add-in. It has been introduced in the last wave. So it is the ambition for Microsoft to go away from the old reporting, which we called always RDL or RDLC, which came from the SQL Server. So the dependencies on releases from the SQL Server team and the report builder around that. But we do need it for precision reporting because we can do set certain conditions and so forth. So therefore, it would be a challenge to do all those reports with Word. So we need help. We need extra functionality within Word to allow us for this functionality. And we saw the first version of it in the last release where we could make conditions of don't show those columns if everything is 0, don't show the row if it's 0 or empty and those kind of things. And now we get extra additional functionality to it. It's not in the same add-in, it's a new add-in, which means you need to install it first to get it. So you see, I already have Business Central add-in installed. That is from last time. Now I have to install again a Business Central add-in, which does actually say preview. So if you search for it and you look down, then you find the add-in. And once it's installed, you get a second add-in, which is replacing the first one. So you can uninstall the first one after that. So once it's installed, you see that's how long it takes. Then you got this pen here, and it gives you more data and labels and report information. And obviously, we need to use it now in our report. So, okay. Now, I thought of if I use an item and I have lot tracked items, let me search for some. And I've got here my coffee beans. Then I might have lots, and I want to print lot labels. So I just look for the lot label report. So which is standard in Business Central, and you see it's a Word layout, and I can see how it looks like out of the box. It gives me 2 barcodes, a description. I can scroll down and see lot number 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So what happens if I want to change that report? Ideally is I just make a new report layout. So the easiest way is to actually go and export the existing one. Then create a new layout. Let's call it my label. Yeah, make it Word. And for now, I import back the existing report again so that I have basically my new report layout defined. And then I to make my changes and then imported it back. Okay, so now I've got my report, open Word. And now I've got the report definition here. So now I want to include, for example, a footer where I can show maybe some report-specific information. And I go specifically to the place where I want it to be edited. And now I'll make use of my new add-in. And you see this add data control, that's the new part of it, which shows me now report information. See the report request. I want to, for example, print the company display name, just add field, and it chucks it in there. And then I just go to the next line and add also the username who run the report. So, and then of course I want to add something more from the data set directly. So let's have a look what we get. So maybe go up data, dot information, and see the variant code hasn't been used yet here on the report. So, so therefore maybe just add comma and variant code by adding the field. And also to demonstrate better, maybe to show that's our report, I just make that a different color so that we see that's the report we just changed. Save that and bring it back into this report. Right, and then I can choose it and run it. And now I've got my company name, the user, and okay, this item hasn't got a variant code to that. So this is how I can make change reports. It does support the repeaters. So if you do have a table and you want to repeat lines, then you can go also to not just add a field, add a repeater and so forth on that. You see, this will get more and more love so that we can make more reports with Word. So now moving to the financial reporting. Financial reporting is a new name for a while now for the account schedules. If there are maybe old NAV users here on the call, you would say what you know with account schedules is called financial reporting now. And it had some more enhancements over the time, and we get some more. I get here 2. So let's go to financial reporting, choose one like the income statement, and want to actually edit another line here. So go to the row definition and insert a new line. So, and if I wanted to have a new line, and just have to type the description, but if I use the account code, for example, directly, it brings in the description from the account. So that means I don't have to type that anymore. So that is quite handy and useful. So the next thing I want to show you is to do with columns. So if you look into the column descriptions, say current months and prior months, you really didn't know what it was because of the date filter. Now we can include the date in the column header, so with different formats. So months and year is what I'm choosing here. And that gives more clarity now about, let's have to close it and run it again. So the update alone will not help to recalculate. So you see now September always, now you know really what the date filters are. And when I just go back to the columns now and quickly just delete the text, and you will see it will just take the months by itself. So that means you don't even have to have a header. Close it, open it up again. You see now it shows me properly the months, and that makes much more meaning. It's more meaningful to me as a user to see now what is the current and what is the prior months. And otherwise I have to always look at the date filter above what I'm filtering. Now, Power BI, big area again of changes. So we had introduced Power BI apps for Business Central, which come with the license. You don't have to license them separately. Yes, you do have to have a Power BI apps license in order to see it. That's a Power BI license you need. Nothing to do necessarily with Business Central. And we do get a new set of apps now. So before you might have updated them, but you do need to look out for new apps. So I have already 2 installed. So if you go on Get Apps, I found it easier when you type in 27 for the version to find the right Power BI apps we're looking for. select the cells, the inventory valuation, inventory report. We do get now also sustainability, finance, we had projects and manufacturing. So it covers everything. So if you do click on one, let's take the inventory valuation, then you will see the description of that in AppSource, and make sure that it says 27 here. Then you know you have the latest report, and get it now and install it. So again, details about the entire process in my last webinar, how to do this from scratch with hooking it up to your data and permissions and so forth. So while we're waiting for this to install, let's have a look on the finance report, because all the reports did get some new fields. In this case, a new tab here, the late payments receivables tab is brand new. So that has been, it's already installed, good. A new thing to do. So, and of course, once I have it defined and loaded, I can run it from Business Central. You see also late payments is visible there. And then, of course, I look at the Power BI report within Business Central. And if I scroll to the right, I get to my new tab, which I have now. Right. So, and the filters and etc. works, but there is more, tell you in a second about this as well. So let's have a look on the inventory valuation report. So what else is new? When you go in there, you can now download these reports. They made them open source. That means you are available to save a copy, download this file, open them up with your Power BI desktop to make changes to it, and then you can upload it. So you will see that some of the apps have that save copy yet, but this will be rolled out. So from what I tested so far, all the ones I tested with, we were able to make a save copy. So, okay, what did we learn? So all apps from Power BI have new content, so do go and check them out. And all of them will be open source. That means you can download all of them, make your specific changes to it. Of course, once you make your changes and you have your app version, you cannot easily merge with the apps or versions you have if you get future versions from Microsoft, right? That's the downside of it. So there are two reports which has new functionality in there which caught my eye, which is the forecast functionality for purchasing and inventory. And that is close to my heart because I did a lot of effective inventory management and therefore want to see how good it is. I did play with the machine learning back in the days. It is using machine learning here as well. And Microsoft does say it's supposed to be good also to pick up seasonalities and those things. And therefore I said, okay, I put it to a test. So let's have a look first on the purchase report. I did create some items in history and so forth to make sure I can test it. So let's find the report first. So when you go to all reports and search for Power BI, then you can actually see how many Power BI reports we have by now. It's quite a lot. And then you're looking for the purchase report. So in the purchase report, if I make it a bit wider, we do have close to the end forecast tab. So purchase forecasting. And you see it's again demo data, but I did post some data in here. And if I want to look at the forecasting side, you see it has a bit of a funnel, but look at my items now. Let me just make that wider and go into the specific items I have created. So I had different scenario items with constant usage and trends and alternatives, sporadic and seasonal. So if I choose one now to see what data I get, then I see I didn't purchase this. I just made a positive adjustment and then sold it. So I put in 24 months of history for this item. But you see now when you apply that, this report doesn't go on sales, it goes purely on purchases. And because of your purchasing habits, you see the other items is all the same, it will then forecast your purchasing habits. Well, that's not ideal for me. It might be useful for you. For some scenarios, I want to rather see what I have to buy based on real usage patterns. So, so if I go now on the inventory report and look at the forecasting, same thing. add my filters, look specifically for my items. So choose my constant usage. See, there is usage. So that's good. Then I just chuck in a bit more months, view 20, apply. So you see, the aim is that I sell every month 100 of the item. So it should be random dates. So it's not always the 20th here as it shows here. It's can be the 18th, whatever. But I want to make my life easy by every month I sell 100. So tell me what it's going to forecast. You see, these are the lines here. It says the next 3 months I most likely then sell 100. So, and okay, no surprise, test passed. But you see the variance, the borders change a bit. Okay, let's take a constant trend. So every month I sell one less over the last pass. So my expectation is, of course, from 100 to 99 to 98 to 97, right? That's a downward trend I see for this item. And 2 years of history should tell me that. But when you look at this, it says 100. There's 88 and another 13 boundaries. And you can tell from the other ones as well. So that's kind of 100 again, but the boundaries go wider. And you can see, I'm not sure if you can see the shaded area there where this goes up like a funnel. So it means it did actually more average it. And you can see this probably on the alternative usage the most, because it should say 150, 150, 150. So I want to see, can it pick up that pattern? And you see what it does, it will average it. And that is exactly my experience with machine learning so far. It needs so much more data. Maybe it gets better with more data because I only put 1 entry per month in. So that would be really good to see. If I really have a lot of data in there, does it then make a better prediction of it? But yeah, that is exactly my experience at averaging out things. And now if you look into the sporadic one, it's just the worst. Right, I have 3 times a year in 2 years which I sold this item, otherwise I didn't. What do you want to forecast with 3 numbers? It's like taking a dice for machine learning. So it came up with some form of averaging out it over the time. And now the seasonal one is where I had posted some usage. When you see on the left, I'm starting with 300. I'm actually coming out of the season. I do sell this. It's a recurring item all the time because the number 0 is no good for any maths. And then you have the season again, and I come out and now expect to pick up the season again. But you don't have to really hover much over it because you can see it averages everything forward. So that means it's not for my liking. I like then still forecast models we have as land and demand planner, for example, which make a better job for me and create purchase orders and all of that. But it would be interesting to get feedback from you guys. So if you want to give it a go and play and see what you see, it might be useful to you. And I'm happy to pass on that feedback also to Microsoft then, so they can work on better models. So in Power BI, we also have the ability now for better drill down and links to source records. So I like that a lot. So if you, for example, are in a diagram, you say right click, drill through, see quite a lot of useful links to go. Let's say item ledger entry. What makes up those number? And I see all my entries here. And if I want to go straight back to the source entry, I can click on it. And it goes to the, in this case, item ledger entry, or maybe the purchase invoice where it came from and so forth. And you can go with find entries into the right documents. And so that's a quite good way to go between the source entries where it comes from and the reports. Now I have a section of others, things which I do less demos on, but I do want to mention it because there is significant investment being done by Microsoft. The first one is around Shopify connector. I know we have some customers using the Shopify connector, so now we can handle basically customers on a per location area. So if you do have different location codes, you can link now our staff also to the Shopify orders with the salespeople for better tracking. You are specific regional market specific pricing rules you can apply, and there's more better tools now to do diagnostics, and also then more performance improvements for the connector and update it to the latest version. I have to say this version was the version of sustainability. This by far had the most new features. So you see, you have to scroll actually down to see them all, from generate CSRD reports or measure gases CO2 equivalents with typical European CBAM, EPR calculation, ESG reporting, and so forth. So I'm not a sustainability expert, sir, but I saw in the beginning that it was more on the sideline and you had to do extra work to get all these sustainability entries as well posted, so that over the versions have been now better integrated. Once you do purchasing and do your normal job, it will then also take this information and maintain all that. So it became quite a huge module by now. So if you do have to report on sustainability, you might want to look into this because it comes free with your license anyway. But most of us are not forced to do that yet. So a new functionality we get also is called the concealed field. We had a masked field before where you could, let's say, type in an entry password and you masked it with the dots. But now the concealed field is more for areas where you have sensitive information, where maybe people looking over your shoulder shouldn't see those information because they look at your screen. And therefore there are fields you want to have more concealed. And when you click this I button, then it just opens up for that moment the data, as you know, from password managers and so forth. I have checked the entire code of version 27. Microsoft has not used it once yet, but they made it available for us as developers to use, which is of course interesting to see where they want to use it. Obviously, probably the bank account numbers might be some of the examples they put in their documentation, so I assume that is what it will do. Now, in my invite to the webinar, I said, look, there will be a new quality tool and there will be more subcontracting. And I hoped that I picked my date right because they said it will be based in the November release 27.1, which still hasn't been released yet. Well, not for upgrade, but I could make a sandbox for it. But those functionality which was meant to be delivered in November has been now pushed out to December. So I'm very sorry that I cannot show you anything around the new quality or subcontracting functionality. But what I can do is a next topic, which is, I find it quite exciting. It's about the MCP server, and you will see and hear that a lot in going forward. So we're back in AI land, where Microsoft also in October wanted to deliver MCP servers for Business Central. So I couldn't see that they have done it. And if they would, the MCP server would only be available in Copilot Studio, and you can use it there. But I thought, hang on, I could make my own MCP server, so why not doing that and show how an MCP server actually works and what it does, so that you get an idea about it. But let's go a little bit back in history. So I asked AI actually to help me with the timeline or image, which I wanted to show. So I go back now in the times where we had AI before, which is, people forget we had machine learning as well, but that was mostly for predictive models to do or for any kind of patterns to find out for predicted maintenance and so on to use. And then, of course, 3 years ago, when we all had Gen AI with large language models, that was a breakthrough for us to get more on the AI train. Those models were based on a snapshot in the past, and you remember that it often says, oh no, my status is from data from 2023, and therefore I don't know what you're actually talking about. So now these days, where we have more better chat experience with Copilot in the chat pen and VC, with different interfaces, it's not just ChatGPT alone. We have Copilot with Claude. We have many different places where we can go. So we have also a web search integration. And that's quite useful, and probably all of us using it now for personal use to look at it, but it's mostly read-only. Yes, Copilot, when you have the license, can help you to write that email, or write that text in Word and all that. So it is producing something for you, but it's not really doing that something actions to you. Yes, in VC we also see it can give me a number series and help me with identifying things. So it's not just only read-only, but what I want to get to now, for me, it's the next leap going forward in that timeline is the MCP server, which connects apps together. So, and then also can do something on your behalf, like creating a sales order. So the MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and that's not new. It's Anthropic, it's probably the pronunciation, has done it exactly a year ago, November 24. It's a standard, an open standard where people can adhere to. And I just call it the USB hub for Gen AI. So if you think about where USB meant as things plug into the computer, like a mouse, the headset, a printer, and unify that, think about the MCP server doing that for Gen AI. So Gen AI wants to make connections to your apps, the systems you use. And so if I just take my analogy, then the MCP server is like the USB hub, which connects it. So the peripheral devices would be the apps you already have, which might know or don't know anything about AI, but they do have APIs and therefore are accessible. So, and that could be, let's say, in a work environment, it could be your office, of course, your web, your e-Teams, your Business Central, your CRM, and then think about the Gen AI engine as your computer with your front end where you can chat to, and that model can have connections to many MCP servers. So that means you can make an MCP server for each of this. Is the client server topology. So where you make one MCP server for the app you connect to, and you define in that MCP server what kind of tools you want to use. I'll show that a bit later further. To what can it do, what can't it do, because you don't support it, and therefore you can have control about it. How does it authenticate to the other systems and so forth? So, okay, why I'm making a big fuss about it? So why is it a game changer? But you will see it in action. So I hope I can convince you of that. Is that, well, it offers unified AI integration. So it means you can make existing apps, even old apps, as long as they have an API to talk to, available for a Gen AI process. So you give one user experience. You have one chat to talk to, and you talk in a conversational way to your system. And I saw probably a year ago where Microsoft announced that the future is not anymore in data and fields and forms, what we know in Business Central, like the customer card with all the fields. The future will be more in a conversational style ERP system. Sure, and I was, of course, wondering how that should look like, right? Because we want structured data. We're very structured in our way of dealing with things. So, but imagine I have one chat thing to talk to, and it just does all the things for me. With MCP, of course, I can access the data and can say what it should do. I can make delegated authority through this. That means it will still be me as my user doing it in those end applications. And whatever permissions I have in this application, that is what will rule. So, and of course, I think it makes also the AI adoption easier because it empowers people to do something, and not just the adoptions, it's the adoption to your processes. So, I hope I can show you that with the example I've chosen. So in order to build an MCP server, you need to have software for that. So I choose to use Claude Desktop because that helps me to make an MCP server, or many, and gives me a chat interface. That's basically my interface, which no different from the Copilot or Google Gemini or ChatGPTs. We have a text box, and you have a conversation with your large language module. But with the difference is that this model has connections to MCP servers and hopefully knows what I mean when I talk about certain things, where to go and use it. So enough of theory. Let's start chatting with Business Central. So the idea, the scenario I was envisaging is like I'm a salesperson, or perhaps maybe even started fresh in a company, and I had a conversation with a new customer, and the customer wants to buy some chairs from me, and yeah, and I just want to pass that on. So I don't know really where to go, other than that I have given that chat experience and want to see what's happened there, and hopefully it does it all for me. So first, let's have a look in Business Central that we see what the data situation is. So I've got no customer theater, for example, here. So that's the customers I have. And I do have some items which we sell. And in particular, I'm interested in this Berlin guest chair, which is a yellow chair, but I also have another yellow chair in Munich. So, and now I have 100 on stock, and the sales price is $365. Okay, now let's remember that. Now let's go back into start and now go into Claude and in our chat experience. And now I just prepared already a text block about what that could be. It could be a copy from a transcript you had from a call, or you just talk into the system and say this kind of thing here, which I have. Let's paste it in. Oh, it's a typo I'll fix quickly. So, okay, let's go through this. Hey, I had a call from Peter White, who works for Theater in Auckland. He wants to buy 2 Berlin chairs from us. Well, any yellow chair will do for him. I don't think Theater is a customer yet. It's a great customer. And contact Peter White, his email address that. I look up Theater in the business register, make a sales order with 2 Berlin chairs. Show me the order, please, and also what is stock on hand. I did not say anything about Business Central or what to go. I just said that's what it is. So yes, I'll help you set this up. Looks for Theater in the business register. Great, found Theater, good. So this is just for me to allow the API for the first time. So ignore that going forward. So now it looks for yellow chairs. And yeah, found the Berlin guest chair, awesome. Wants to create the customer record. Okay, can't make it, tries without the country code because of the validation issue it faced, so tries to work around it. Okay, yeah, great. The customer has been created now, and now wants to do the sales order. Okay, I need to update the customer because it doesn't have a business posting group. All right, so let me check what other customers have in posting groups. Maybe that helps me to find out what the right one is. Okay, existing customers don't seem to show, and yeah, that means that is usually because either the API doesn't offer that, or maybe the MCP server has been configured that way not to look at that. So in this case, it says API doesn't expose that field, so therefore it cannot complete. But it made good progress. Okay, let's say it did create the customer with the address and everything. As stock status is 100. Yeah, with the 365 price. Can't do the sales order. Recommends to me go to BC, open that customer, assign the business posting group, most likely something like domestic, and then create sales orders. Okay, we don't do the sales orders, but let's go back and fix the customer. Yeah, we got the customer created. So with all the details. And let's scroll down now to the phone numbers right here. Invoicing, make domestic. Probably could have used to use a template perhaps. So, and now where we have that, let's just go back to Claude and say, well, try again. Perfect. Okay, create the sales order. Yeah, made the sales order, had the sales order done, delivery address, everything sorted, 2 Berlin chairs, and says, well, I've got 98 units left, so it's good then. Would you like me to help with the next steps, posting invoice? Well, yeah, before we do that, let's have a look first what it actually did to validate. So we open the customer and we see, yeah, 1 sales order has been created. And if I would have put in like the external document number or something, a reference, I would have done that too. So, and I see here my order is good to go. Right, so now, well, then let's see if we can push our luck a bit and say, yeah, post it. Go ahead and post the sales order. Well, maybe give me the PDF. Yeah, did that too. This is the sales invoices. Tries to get the PDF for me. Well, I have the invoice PDF ready. That's great. So we got invoice 233 at the end. Items PDF is in base $64, so that's not really useful to me. Okay, maybe I just go back to BC and see what's actually happened, but it has been fully processed. Okay, go back to the sales order F5, should be deleted, yes. Go back here, see the invoice. Invoice has been posted, and I can now go and get my own PDF. Probably could have told them also to email it out. What? So now, one user interface did it all for me, retried again of things which didn't work, understood error messages, tried to find ways around it to help me getting things done. So, and that is just with one system now, with Business Central, and well, the web as well, because it did look the address up in the business, which we saw in the order fill as well. But now imagine you have a situation where your boss comes probably most likely to you and say, well, did customer ABC just pay all the bills and do this, do that, make a meeting with the salesperson and whatever. So how would that look like if I have multiple systems involved? So here's my example. So, right, I get, boss comes and said, did Alpine pay all the bills? I didn't say sales invoices or anything. Let's just say, look, again, didn't say BC. It looks for BC for me. Tries to find the customers, found Alpine Ski House, has not paid all the bills, interesting, there's a balance due. Okay, there's outstanding invoices, right, yeah, will do, show me all unpaid invoices. Yeah, let me try a different approach, get more invoices, posted sales invoices now. Yeah, here we go. Unpaid invoice, 180. Due at March, invoice over 7 months overdue. Would you like me to help with draft reminder email to Alpine Ski House? Well, yeah, here we go. I'll tell you what to do. So block the customer, set up a meeting with the salesperson, which I don't know who, and me for Thursday, prepare a reminder email for the customer for that invoice, save it in my draft folder for my review, let the colleagues know via team message in the sales channel that this customer is blocked. Yeah, I can help you with all these tasks. Awesome. So update customer. So, okay, try to block it. And okay, keep in mind, this is my prototyping. So I was not enabled to do this in the API. Maybe I had no permissions to do it. Schedule the meeting with the salesperson, Joe. Okay, prepare the email and notify the sales team. So let me do the payment reminder. Save it as a draft. Oh, apologize. Oops. Send the email directly to the customer. Right. Let me search for information about the sales team and tries to find in Teams what the most task is and then the channel. But I know that there is an issue with the Graph API of Teams, so therefore it could not do all of that what I wanted to do. And why did I still show it? Of course, I wanted to say also there are some limitations still we have to work through. So couldn't do the customer blocking, which might be either the API doesn't support it or I don't have the permissions. So, or in the team notification, I do know that the Graph API doesn't support to make messages there because they block it for things. But let's have a look in the Outlook, what happens. So my calendar, I see actually my Alpine Ski House overdue payments there. But if I look in my sent items, I have the email to the customer, Ian, saying, I hope this message finds you well and bring that to your attention, blah, 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 blah. Megan, Bone, accounts receivables, yep. Sir, and then I have also the invite for Joe here, which says, look, at that time, that's the time difference now. This is why it showed up, and meeting to discuss over the invoice about Ski House and all of that. So I hope you get the idea how it works when it's connected to multiple apps. And you also see probably the challenges with it now. So what is it what I wanted to do? Do I really want to have that email sent directly to the customer? Well, if I trust it, yes, but that is probably in the beginning not. We want to maybe have this done in the draft. So, and that is the challenges to work around it, but I hope you get the idea about it. So do you do some clicks and then you got an MCP server? No. Do some coding. So, you need to define the access to APIs, how you do your access to it, and so forth. And then you need to define actually the tool set. It is called tools in the MCP server about what APIs you want. For example, I want to give you a list customers operation, which can go through and use the according the API and list it. So it means I can make a GET request, and if I want to update a customer, I need to make a patch request. If I don't define that, I cannot update a customer. So that means I can control quite a lot about what actions I want to use from the APIs and what I allow. And then still, because of the authentication, it's still me as a user and see what it does. So that means if you think so, that's maybe look behind the scenes of that magic about how it actually works behind it. And you do need to do the same thing for all the other APIs, or you want to include the other apps. And then, but you see, it does orchestrate it nicely for me and does a lot of things for me based on that. So I hope you're excited as much as I am. So now we go to a more non-exciting area, licensing. And talking about licensing with MCP server, you might think, hang on, how did I do this? Okay, I passed through the user, so I have to have the same license there. Otherwise, it would be multiplexing, which is not allowed. But it did come up in the conference about what is going to happen now when we build more and more of the surfaces here of client chats. What does it actually mean for licensing going forward? And Microsoft thinks that they will have less users actually in the ERP system. So I'm not sure how they make them their money then. So will there be a new license model about it where they just go purely on AI consumption and make the money this way, or is it right? So this is open, and there are thoughts about for Microsoft how this is going to change maybe in going forward. What is going to happen is the price increase I announced already in the last webinar. It was announced for the 1st of October. It has been pushed to the 1st of November. Same prices as before. I just reported back in the day there. I do want to bring your attention to the extra storage you get as well. So it's just going increase the storage from an essential user from 2 gigs to 3 gigs, for a premium user from 3 gigs to 5 gigs, and from a device license from 1 gig to 1.5 gigs per user. So if you already have a commitment, I showed the USD dollar prices because, you know, there's the annual commitment and there is the annual commitment, annual payment, annual commitment, monthly payment, monthly commitment, monthly payment, and so on. So there's all different prices. I don't want to go through that. But yes, but if you had a commitment period, then of course at the end of the commitment period, there's this new price then apply to you. Right, also that is cloud. It also affects on-premise customers. If you do have NLV or BC on-premise, your annual enhancement plan will increase by 1%. So started way back 16, now 19, now 20% of the list license value will be the price you have to pay for that. We do have for those on-premise customers a promotion, the Bridge to Cloud 2 promotion, which comes to the end on 31st of December this year. So it's just another 1.5 months to go. It's a fixed 3-year term, non-renewable, and after the promotion period, you pay normal pricing. You do get a 40% discount on the standard commercial list prices. So what happens after that on the 1st of January? Well, there was a long time gap, but we do know now it's a Bridge to Cloud 3 promotion, which starts on the 1st of January. It goes for 2 years to the 31st of December 27. And has 30% discount instead of 40. And there's two other things which are different to this. Otherwise, the conditions are mainly the same. Is when you hit the threshold, which is when you paid an enhancement plan. Let's say you paid $10,000 a year, and you need to pay at least $10,000 a year again in terms of licenses. But if you now, for the number of users you need $20,000, that is your threshold, double of it, then any extra user you pay $0 for that. So that's the deal we had in Cloud 2, and it's the same for Cloud 3. The difference is only those users are only there for 2 years of this period, not 3 years as it was before. And you can also buy now more on-prem licenses as well. You get a 50% discount on that, but it's a single one-time order you have to place, and there are more conditions to attach to it. So talk to our licensing team if you need more information. So a few more slides about Tractions EMEA, which was just last week in Poland. So if you believe the social media, the most important thing is we get a new logo. So same power, new look from 2026, release wave 1. It's like the Engage logo, just 45 degrees angled, probably to symbolize more AI and so forth. So, but I did also find the roadmap for 26 release wave 1. So I think we're running out a bit of time, so therefore I rather want to spend time on the Q&A section. And because it is the end of our demonstration. So is there any conversations? I don't see any here. Show Amy if there's anything you see I can't see. There we go. So do readers of the Power BI reports require a Power BI license? Yes. So everyone who wants to open up the Power BI app needs to have a Power BI for apps license. Yeah. So it has nothing to do with the Business Central or full users or team members or any of that. It's just purely Power BI license. You just open it up from Business Central. Next question is Copilot paid integration or can you use the free one? So Copilot, we have two different functionality in there. So when we look at the ones at the chat, we use the autofill and all those are all included in the Business Central license. There's no extra cost. The only usage-based licenses you have is when you use the agents, so the sales and the payable agents. And those cost depending on what steps they do. If they are prepare a document or reply to an email, there's different message numbers. And you basically, that's a new currency for that. And therefore, you need to see how much activities it does and therefore how much it costs. You cannot just say one sales order costs X dollars, because there could be many interactions between the customer and the agent of clarifying, maybe saying, hey, you want to buy a chair? Well, we have black chairs, yellow chairs, whatever. What kind of chair do you want? Okay, more information. Okay, and then it goes backwards and forwards until we found the right ones. So what I showed you with the MCP server, it's using APIs, and the model you use and the system you use, like mini Cloud, in this case, so that is where you pay your AI for. And I think that's it. There's 2 licenses. So then I thank you for your attention, and look out for the webinar so that you can see everything again in the recording on the YouTube channel. And then I'll talk to you next year in May again. Okay. Thank you.